Well, good morning. Welcome to Agent Power Huddle. We've got a returning guest superstar agent. She's going to laugh, I know, when I say superstar, but in my mind, you're a superstar, Rebecca. We got Rebecca Nedelka from Cleveland, Ohio. Um, sh- she's been on here a number of times. If you haven't heard any of her past appearances, you can go back and listen to those. But we've really dove pretty deep into her story of going from a handful of deals in her first year and a half to like 50, 60, like plus deals a year. I mean, it's in a very short period of time, you grew a very impressive business. So welcome. Excited. We're not going to go into that part of the story today. I have new things to ask you about because now, like,
Yep.
how long have you been in the business at this point?
Just over 4 years.
Just over 4 years. So you're still a newer agent, but I would say at this point you've sold enough houses to be more experienced than the majority of agents out there, right? So you're in this really interesting middle place. What I want to know, we're just starting 2025, right? What I want to know is, are you focused more on like what went well last year, 2024? Or are you focused on something for 2025? Like that year's done, you're just going forward. How do you approach this new year?
Um, the first thing I think I've kind of sat down and looked at was how I'm going to change things, whether it be my systems or just my approach to improve my business. Obviously, my goal is every year to kind of grow a little bit more. And there's definitely things, whether it be just my organization or how I'm going to like focus more on repeat business, referral business that I don't pay for or have, pay at closing or whatever, try to grow in that way. And I think one of the things that I also want to do is jump more into the networking opportunities and education. Obviously, you can never learn enough. And I've dealt with more investors than I had in previous years. And they're very different. I prefer the traditional buyers, but they're a good part of business too. And you can move, quite a few transactions with a couple investors. So, but for me, I need to get better at those and learn. So I'm trying to do some investing, education and, you know, network with investors so I can get some of those off-market deals and, present those to my investors versus going through the MLS and finding all the deals that don't work with the numbers.
I love it. And just to put this in context, how many deals did you end up closing in 2024?
I think I'm around 57, 50.
57?
I think so. Something like
I,
that.
I love that. I think it's such and this is not you and a giant team. This is like you and how many agents?
Just me. Just me by myself.
And by the way, one of the things I love is that you are humble and you're very motivated, very focused, but it's just like, just me, out there selling, 57 homes by myself. Um, so
Yeah, I mean, I have great agents around me that, you know, they've been in the business a lot longer. And when I get in that mindset that this is awful, like this isn't going how I wanted to, there's a group of agents like right where I live that I'd say we're good friends and they can pull me up from that moment of just this isn't going well. I give up kind of thing. I feel like we all hit those hurdles and they've definitely pushed me through. And when I'm like when I first said, I can't believe I'm going to be on this podcast, they're like, well, why? You know what I mean? Like, of course, it makes sense. And to me, I don't feel that way. I feel like I'm a new agent and, you know, what do I have to tell people? So it's kind of their support and the people around me are super supportive. So that helps tremendously.
so what you're saying is even after you start selling a high level of homes, because I consider as a solo agent, 57 homes, that's a pretty high level of homes. Um, you still have the same moments of doubt, just like anybody else at any part of your career.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I had some really challenging transactions toward the end of this year, and it was frustrating. And I started questioning, what am I doing? Like, you know, I've closed a number of investment transactions. And I just had a couple that made me seriously question, do I know what I'm doing? Because it was just weird stuff and they were very difficult and not like any of the other transactions. And that's the thing. There's no two transactions that are the same. The joke in the group of girls that I work with is I could probably write a book on all the weird stuff that I've encountered in 4 short years, like just bizarre stuff. But it's all a way to learn and continue to grow. And, even though I get to those points where I think that I just can't do this, like, because it hits. And you're on the phone. I mean, I spent probably 3 or 4 days straight on the phone at like 10 o'clock at night with the broker because I was just like, I don't even know what to do with this lady. Like, she is just over the top crazy. And I mean, we worked through it and it's all fine. And I'm back to helping the normal investors that I have. And just, it's a learning curve. And I should have probably pulled the rug out a while ago and just learned to say, okay, this isn't worth my time. I have clients that really want to buy homes and not just, I don't want to say act like they want to buy homes, but those sometimes, like, I just don't think she was really serious about what she was doing. And
So I want to ask about that then, because I feel like the more deals you do, the more time becomes one of your biggest limiting factors, right? We've talked about, we'll go into systems in a minute, what you're looking at for leverage and how do you continue to sell at a high level. But if you're going to do 57 homes as a solo agent, how do you decide who gets your time and who doesn't? Or do you not typically think about it? Do you just serve whoever shows up? Like, how do you approach that?
I normally try to serve whoever shows up. Because I truly believe that it's not about the commission check. It's about the client. And investment deals around here, I mean, at the end of the day, you make peanuts, like, compared to a regular home sale with a traditional buyer. I mean, the amount that we get paid is very different. And I've never let that be a contributing factor as to whether I'm going to help somebody or not. And I mean, the broker asked me, like, this client was like every day, oh my God, you're awesome. You do so much to help me, this, that. And then all of a sudden she was questioning, what do I do for her? I'm not looking out for her. And it came out of nowhere and it caught me off guard. And I'm like, oh, well, what would you like me to do differently? Like, let me know. And it was, some of the things were things that legally I can't do. And, I reached out to the brokers and I kind of had them talk me off the ledge because I was like, I really don't know what else to do with her. And they're like, why have you done all the things you've done already? Like, I went and showed one of her vacant properties to a prospective tenant, and I had nothing to do with that property. I was just trying to be nice. She had a vacant property. She couldn't get the property management company to go. I'm like, well, I'll go. And it was a 45-minute ride there and back. I'm not going to make a penny, but like, I felt like that was the service that I provide. And, she's going to buy a couple with me. It'll all work itself out. It's not about the paycheck. It's about the service that you provide. And I've stood by that. So I don't necessarily not want to help investors, but I had to make the decision that she was literally consuming hours. I couldn't, if she called, it was no less than 35, 40 minutes on the phone, repeating the same stuff we talk about on every single conversation. So with I don't want to say a permission slip, but a permission slip from the broker to say, I'm done with her because I feel bad. Like, I'm not the one to fire clients, so to speak, but I did. I was like, I just can't. I can't do this with you anymore. Like, I'm so sorry. Transactions all fell apart. It was on her. Because I said I would work it till the end. The broker offered to have somebody else finish the transactions if I was doing such a bad job, what she was saying. And she was like, oh, okay, well, who's gonna help me? And the brokers told her. And then the broker said, but just so we're clear, you are not going to get the same level of service that you were getting. If you think you're going to get something more, you're really not, you're going to get less. So as long as that's the direction you want to go, we'll set it up. And she's like, oh no. And she flipped right back to, well, Rebecca's been great. She's been the best agent. And
Which is so interesting. So what I'm really hearing, Rebecca, is you are someone who has built your business by going above and beyond for your clients. You mentioned it's all about the service. You mentioned that a few times. I just heard you say it. And I think that's it served you incredibly well. As you get busier and busier, the lesson kind of is you have to figure out at some point in time if there is a limit, right? Or if there's like there's you have the I'm assuming you kind of do you take the mindset that most people are good people. Most people are out there for okay, I'm seeing you nod your head. So if you take that, how do you figure out then when it's not going in a good direction, when too much is too much? I guess having that outside point of view, outside perspective is what's helpful, correct?
yeah. So when it gets challenging like that, like I always first go to the agents that are around me that we chat all the time and kind of get their like, I would never do, you've got to stop, like tell her you're done, whatever. And then I, because of the situation, I kind of then talk to the broker and I feel like I need to get somebody to tell me I'm not crazy and that I'm not being over dramatic about it. I I tend to be what we're not supposed to be, the emotionally attached agent. I tend to like, I care about my clients. I want them to get what they want. And I do, there is emotion in it. And that's probably the hardest part for me is to not, many of my clients, I would say are my friends now, like not all, some of them it's the, agent, hi, just wanted to see how everything's going at your new house. But there are some that will text me and say, send me pictures of their kids or whatever. And like, I stopped by, I was driving through the neighborhood and I just popped in on one of them and she came running out the door when she saw me pull up. And like, I think that the service level is what we are missing in this time frame in many industries, restaurants, any service industry. I think the level of service has gone down. And in a very competitive market with agents, there's lots of agents. You can walk outside and probably hunt down 10 agents within a mile radius. The difference is going to be the level of service that you provide. That's how you're going to, I think, win the clients and just be genuine with it. Like I tell my clients, you can call me if you find a house at 2:00 in the morning, text it over to me. Totally fine. You're not going to wake me up. I'll get up when I see it. I'm going to look at it. I don't want you to forget. Like those kind of things, I don't get offended. And so I want them to know that I genuinely want them to find what they're looking for. And it doesn't matter when they reach out. Like I said, I'm not answering my phone at 2:00 in the morning, but I don't want you to forget to send it to me. So send it when you see it. And that's, if they're on a different shift or whatever the case may be. I had a client question that they didn't want to bother me on a Sunday. And I'm like, I mean, it is the weekend and I'm assuming you guys aren't working. So why would I not? If I'm not doing anything, it's fine. I don't limit my hours of availability. My kids are grown. So that doesn't really have an effect. Now, if I have plans, I'm not changing my plans. If my client, that's the only time I'll reach out to one of the agents by me and say, hey, do you mind showing this for me?
But here's what I think is interesting. And there's a perception that you create in the people you work with, like that first impression. And I think because you said your kids are grown, you don't limit your hours because you are available, because of the way I hear in the way you communicate, you set this perception that like, not even perception, it's reality. I mean, they know you are all in for them. They know you are there for them. And so on the occasions when you aren't available, I don't think it even shows up on their radar. They already know like you are there for them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. And like I stress because I am in a week, I'm headed out to Arizona for 3 weeks. Stresses me out. Like I'm so excited to be able to go, but I know that I have to rely on the agents that are here to cover showings for me. And I feel bad because I'm not there for my client. And I feel bad because I'm having somebody else do work that I should be doing. So I struggle with it a little bit. mean, don't kid yourself. They'll get a picture of me sitting by the pool with my, relaxing in the sunshine as it's snowing here in Ohio. But I do stress at the fact that I'm leaving my work here for them. But my clients know that I'm not leaving you for 3 weeks. I'm going to make sure that I have everything in place for you to be taken care of.
So let's talk through that, because we're halfway through. I want to change gears to some of those systems. Like, that is a new thing for you. I think the first couple of years, as you scaled your business from a handful of deals to 50 plus deals in a year, like, you weren't taking a lot of trips like that or before, correct?
No.
Okay. So other than mindset, which has allowed you to, at least, I know it's still a little uncomfortable, are there systems? What have you put in place that's allowing you to actually go to Arizona for 3 weeks?
I've gotten much better about my CRM, and like I have multiple checks for myself. I try to keep in a handwritten, who are my active buyers, what listings I have currently, and the people that I need to absolutely, without a doubt, have conversation with the entire time I'm gone. They need to not think that I'm away sitting at a pool. I take my phone to the pool so I can answer texts as they come up. I'll have my AirPods in. So even if I'm not looking at my phone, it'll tell me in my ear that someone's texting or calling. And then I have my laptop out there. I go through, it's a 2-hour time difference. So 9 o'clock at night here is 7 o'clock there. I get up in the morning pretty early there. I try to stay on more of an Ohio time schedule a little bit. And I just have all that. I take that with me. So my written, who I'm working on, and then while I'm there, I'll still maintain contact with those that aren't super active, but I use Fusion Growth partners, and they handle a lot of my auto emails that go out. Like, I approve the emails, and then they're part of that CRM that emails my sphere when they're supposed to. So I don't have to maintain that on my own, because I am busy, and I think the busyness makes me forget things. Like, I'm forgetful sometimes. Like, if I don't write it down, it's not happening. If it doesn't, or even put it on my calendar, not necessarily write it down, because I use my phone to make notes in my notes tab. Everything goes on my calendar. If it is not on there, it doesn't exist. And so I think I used to be like, all right, I know I've got to go. And I didn't put the appointment on my calendar. And then I missed a showing once, and I was absolutely mortified. Fortunately, it wasn't that far, but my clients text me. They're like, hey, are you still coming? Are you running behind? And I'm literally sitting up. I flew off my couch. I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe. And I think I apologized 5,000 times, but that point forward, it's going on my calendar, because if it doesn't, I run the risk of missing it. So even if it's make a phone call, like, I have call so-and-so, because we know that we've got a call, but if it doesn't show up as a set time on my calendar, it doesn't happen. So I try to use my calendar a lot. And then I use my planner. I try to get things written down too. And my goal is to have my mornings be for phone calls. I did the EXP's Fast Cap program. And even though I have caps, and I use it as a fast icon, like, okay, block the time. I know you're supposed to time block, and I don't. I should say I didn't. Like, oh yeah, I'll get to making those calls. Well, guess what? If it's not on my calendar and I didn't block it out, it is probably not happening. So now I force myself. I have to make these calls today. I have to make these calls tomorrow. And I sit down and I do those things, even if I don't like them. And that helped change my mindset on what needed to be done to be successful. And if you don't make calls, your pipeline's going to empty at some point.
How do you make yourself do things even if you don't like them?
It's part of this is what I'm here to do. I have to do it because I want to go to Arizona for 3 weeks, and I want to go on a family vacation. So I've gotten, like I said, kind of when we jumped on at the beginning, when you first asked me to do one of these, I was all like, oh my God, there's no way I can't do this. Like, how am I going to do this? I'm panicking. And now this time when I got the email, I was like, oh, sure. Okay. Yeah. January, that works. And so it's just, I don't mind the phone calls as much anymore. I think I've gotten more comfortable with responding because obviously you never know what the person on the other end is going to say. And I think that stressed me out. Like, what do I say? Like, how do I answer? But really, I know what to say. I don't know why I was overthinking it. And I think that was probably the biggest change over the last even 6 months, that why are you worried about how you're going to answer a question? Like, you answer questions face to face. Why is it over the phone harder? Like, so that was one of the things that I kind of got out of my own way when it comes to making those phone calls and texts and emails and whatever. Like, it's easier for me now.
I love it. I got to make a quick distinction, then I've got a question for you. You mentioned in passing, you said like when you go to Arizona, but I'm guessing this is all the time, you have a handwritten list of your active clients, listings, prospects. Like, do you always carry a handwritten list with you? Is that just when you're traveling, or is that like all the time you have a handwritten list?
I usually, so because with my fusion, I do a call every other week, kind of like an accountability check.
Yeah.
And so I have to tell you how many active buyers I have, how many active listings, and I need to know and be able to share those numbers. So I found for me that it's better if I have them written down. Now, do I get lazy from time to time? Yes. And then I'm like, why do you not have them written down? Like, I know I could go to my dot loop and look and see who's got active buyers agreements and who's got, SkySlope has my listings and transactions, but realistically, if they're written down and I can check them off each day or week or whatever I need to do as far as where they are in the process, if it's in writing and I have it with me and my laptop and my binder come with me, if it's in there, I can't forget. So I found that that's the best way for me. And then I'll be like, oh yeah, this person's still looking. Nothing's come up that's met their criteria. And then I'll jump in and I'll do a manual search. Like, maybe let me switch the parameters up that their auto search isn't catching, and I'll find a house and I'll just send it over to them. So they know that I'm still thinking about them, even though I might have really forgot, but they know I'm thinking about them when I send them a random, hey, I just ran across this listing. I just want to share it. I know it's missing whatever, but I wanted to send it to you anyways. And sometimes we'll go see it and then they're like, oh, thanks for reaching out. I've been looking, I haven't seen anything, but they know at least that they're on my mind and I haven't just forgotten them, because not all clients are equally as active.
I love that. And I love that it's a simple system. Like, yes, you said you've gotten better at their CRM, but a handwritten list, anyone can do that. Like it's a simple thing. The other question I wanted to ask you about was, how quickly do you respond to text messages generally?
Oh, like, I try to respond super fast. Even if it's, let me check, I'll get back to you. Because I don't want them to feel like I forgot about them or I'm ignoring them. And I have an iPhone and I have my read receipts on, so they know that I read it. I could turn it off, but I don't know, like, I'm going to at least acknowledge that you messaged me. If I'm with a client, because if I'm out showing a house or something, I like to give the client that I'm with my full attention. So if I feel like I need to text and are going to see me, I'll be like, sorry, give me just a second. I'm answering another client. I just want to let them know that I saw their message. And no client's ever like, oh, she's ignoring me. And that doesn't happen very often. But
The reason I asked that though, and I love it, you answered exactly how I thought you would. So most sales trainers back in the day before text messaging, the number one training they would always tell you is always answer your phone. Just answer the phone. That's the biggest mistake that a lot of agents at any level make, because they just don't answer the phone. And now, because no one calls anymore, right? If the phone does ring, you better answer it, because it's got to be either really important or right, they're actually calling. But now I think it's just respond to your text quickly, right? Like I think that's the new version of answer your phone. Would you agree with that?
Yes, yes, I definitely agree. But I also feel like how you said a lot of a lot of agents don't call anymore. They text. And one of the things that I feel I do differently than a lot of agents are when I know I have a buyer interested in a property, I don't care if I have to make up a question. I will call the listing agent and they're going to know that they're going to hear from me and that I'm going to be an agent that's not going to ignore things and not communicate. Like to me, that is a big difference. And I've had agents flat out tell me, you're the only agent that called. So I know you're going to follow this transaction. Darn right I am. I want it to close. I'm not doing this work just to have fun. Like I want the process to go well for my client. I want it to close, and whatever I can do to give them the advantage, that's what I'm going to do. So I do. If they say, I really like this house, and I tell them my next step is when I pull out of the driveway, I will call the listing agent and I will ask certain questions. I'll find out, one, do they have any offers? Is there anything that the seller's looking for specifically that can strengthen our offer? I'll make up a question. Like I just try to come up with something. So I'm not just asking, do you have any offers? And I never, ever, ever ask, is there compensation? Drives me crazy.
I love it.
Going to be compensation somewhere. We don't work for free. We know this. Why is that a question that you're asking to write an offer? I don't like it. So to me, I won't ask that question. I'll put it in there and then we'll negotiate what we have to.
I love it. So when you're calling the agent, do you text them first to tell them you're calling? You just pick up the phone and call? Do you call them a bunch of times? What is it?
I pick up the phone and call, and if they don't answer, then I send a text and say, hey, I just left your listing at such and such, and my buyers are interested. I have a couple questions. If you can call me when you get a chance. Depending on the agent, some of them will, some of them just ignore you completely, which blows me away. Like, okay. And others will text. And if they text me back, I will text back and forth with them. I'll get the information that I need, but they're going to know that I at least called them. Like they're going to see that I called. So I will pick up the phone. I feel like every time I go to write an offer, I will call that agent. There's no reason to not.
Aren't you shocked that all agents don't do that?
I am. I'm shocked that agents don't answer their phone or return messages. Like, how do you do business? My pet peeve. And I also get agent. So if an agent calls me, I'm going to return their phone call. Like simple.
But we've got just a couple minutes left. We'll wrap it up here. If you had to give a tip, like one thing for 2025 that agents should pay attention to, work on, I think we might have just hit it in terms of like respond to messages, answer the phone. But anything else? What do you maybe you personally focus on, or what do you think agents should focus on for this year?
I think personally, obviously being an agent that communicates is super important, but that falls in line with just provide good service. And nobody, you define your service level, right? So provide what you consider acceptable service. I mean, I think you need to be above everybody else, but good service and not just looking for the paycheck. Like you've got to work for your client, and that's just it should never be about the paycheck. I'm going to the Glover Youth Summit in Phoenix. That's one of the things I'm going to do while I'm out there. And one of his Gloverisms, whatever, is the moment it becomes about the commission check, you've lost, or as soon as it becomes about the commission check, you've lost. And I'm making a sign for my office because I really believe that. And it's got to be about your client.
I love that. Well, Rebecca, I will say it because maybe you need to hear it, but you are a fantastic agent. You really, and every time we do one of these, you have so much to offer to other agents, to the people, and I know why your clients love you. Like, not only are you an icon agent at EXP, which like That you're just a fantastic human being and agent too. So thank you for sharing wisdom this morning. Thank you for being here. This is fun. Yeah. Enjoy your time in Arizona.
I will. It'll be a lot warmer than it is here.
Have a good morning.
Have a good one. Thank you.
All right, buddy.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.